We've got breaking news from the World Cup where France headed back to the final after defeating Morocco 2-0 in Doha. Theo Hernandez opened the scoring early with a rebound goal in the 5th minute. France would then get their second and final goal in the 79th minute, courtesy of Randal Kolo Muani. The French will now take on Argentina in the championship game, taking on Lionel Messi on Sunday. That game at 10 Eastern at Lusail Stadium. France looking to become the first repeat champion since Brazil in 1958 and 1962. And here's how they did it. Taking through the knockout stage in the round of 16, took out Australia to start at Argentina, then the Netherlands in added extra time on penalties, then shut out Croatia to get to the final. As for France, the 2-1 win over England. Morocco made it through Portugal, and then France getting their first clean sheet of the tournament today by taking down Morocco 2-0. As mentioned, those two teams meeting in the final on Sunday. A win in the title game will give France their third World Cup title. It would also give Argentina their third World Cup title. That would be good for fourth all time, sitting behind Italy and Germany. They trail Brazil. Let's now welcome in CBS Sports soccer analyst Jonathan Johnson, who joins us to talk about this game. JJ, we get the final that the odds were telling us that we'd get. Your reaction to France advancing to a second straight World Cup final?
Yeah, really impressive. France weren't my pick pre-tournament to go all the way to the final. I did think they had the ingredients to make a deep run if everything came together, but I don't think many of us could have predicted that France would rediscover that chemistry from 2018, which, obviously led them to success in Russia and might now lead them to success again here in Qatar. Obviously, Argentina, a bit of a different beast to Morocco, certainly in terms of the attack that they'll come up against this weekend, but, you can't undermine the hard work that's gone into this for Les Bleus and the excellent job that Didier Deschamps has done. World Cup winner as a player, World Cup winner as a coach already, and now could potentially defend that title as well. So, kudos to France for, having to dig deep and pull this one out. It wasn't like against Poland where, they were scoring goals, not for fun, but, more freely than they did against the likes of England and here against Morocco. But, based on what we've seen from France when they've been at full strength so far this tournament, a deserved final berth.
Well, and there were questions about France coming into this tournament. Certainly without the likes of Karim Benzema, there was some question as to how much goal scoring they would be able to have without him in the lineup. In terms of the tactics for this particular game, how important was it for France to get that early goal here?
I think the early goal was key. I also think that France were helped massively by the fact that Morocco were forced into two changes. One change before the game had even kicked off, the second about 20 minutes in. And when you lose two key components like Morocco did in their two defenders, Aguerd and Saiss, I think that's always going to play into France's hands. But, they did have to come out, breach that Moroccan defence, which no other team had done, bar Morocco themselves when Aguerd scored that own goal up until then. That was a huge moment for France, but I think many people expected them to kick on after that, maybe get another couple of goals, but it didn't turn out to be the case. And they were made to work very, very hard until that late breakthrough through Kolo Muani with pretty much his first touch of the game when he came on as a substitute. So I think France did well to adapt to the fact that Morocco still were as resolute, as dogged as they've been all tournament, despite conceding that early goal. But ultimately, they were able to wear them down, and that's probably what they will hope to do against the Argentines this weekend as well.
Yeah, it's not to say that Morocco didn't have their chances. They most definitely did in this game. But in terms of the overall play, JJ, what was the biggest difference in this game for you?
I think a big difference is obviously France, relative to the players available to them, were able to field a very strong starting 11. Morocco, missing a few key components, like I said, especially when you rip the heart out of that defense. But, I think as well, there is always this sort of pressure aspect, when you achieve something as historic as Morocco have done, first African and first Arabic nation to reach this stage of the World Cup, that is going to let off a huge amount of, pressure within the group. And I'm not saying that, they sort of took their foot off the gas, but what they're going out on the pitch knowing that they've already made history not just for their country, but made history for the region as well. And I think when you go into that game as France, out there to potentially get into the final as defending champions, but also knowing that if you lose this game, you're losing to a nation that has, deep links with France. It's going to be, very embarrassing to go back to home soil, and with their tail between their legs. So I think it was really a game that France could not afford to lose. Morocco were very much the underdogs here with everything to gain, but absolutely nothing to lose and no shame to go home at this point. Obviously, they won't go home immediately because they will play for third place. And I think, if Morocco were to manage to beat Croatia for that third place, then that would be a magnificent achievement. Not quite as much as getting to the final, but certainly, not something to be looked down upon.
Okay, so the World Cup final is Sunday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern Time at Lusail Stadium. A preview of the final for us. I mean, how do you see these two teams, France and Argentina, stacking up against one another?
I mean, they're two very, very complete squads, and we know that France are already missing some important names. You'd have to hope that France do get some key players back, notably Rabiot, who was missing from the midfield for this game. I think he would make a big difference, certainly in a game where possession will be extremely important up against the likes of Morocco. Up against the likes of Argentina. Wasn't so much the case against Morocco. I think this is maybe the final that many people were expecting pre-tournament when you look at not just the two sets of players, but also the narrative as well. I think it was inevitable that PSG teammates were going to cross each other's paths at some point. Many people were expecting it might be Mbappe and Neymar, or Messi and Neymar. This time it's Mbappe and Messi who will cross paths. Could have been Hakimi as well, obviously. He was part of the Morocco team that will play for third place. But I think, it is in many ways probably the first choice of many people pre-tournament for the final, this one, especially as both teams were able to top their group and set up that side of the draw.
Win or lose, this will be Lionel Messi's final appearance at the World Cup. What would winning the World Cup mean for Messi and his stature in world football?
Oh, it'd be massive. I think he's spoken about it many times, how he expects this to be the last World Cup that he can really truly compete in. And I think we saw in that semi-final against Croatia, he is still very much, so close to the peak of his powers, perhaps not in his absolute prime as we saw a couple of years ago, but still very, very decisive. And it feels like there will never be a better chance for Messi to win that coveted World Cup title. Mbappe already has one to his name, could potentially add a second, but there will be time still in his career for him to do that. And for Messi, kind of feels like, this would really sort of complete the legend almost. I mean, we know that Lionel Messi is a legendary player. He's not going to be forgotten, the day that he retires, not for many, many years to come. But, perhaps winning the World Cup is maybe what sets him on par with the likes of Diego Maradona. The debate is still fierce in Argentina, who is more legendary, Maradona or Messi. Obviously, unfortunately, we're not talking about the late Maradona, but, Messi, if he was to win a World Cup, would have a set of achievements in his career, that could stack up against what Maradona achieved back in his day.
Kylian Mbappe, you mentioned him. I mean, he could be 23 years old and have 2 World Cups to his name. So what would another title mean for him at this age in terms of where he is in world football?
I think it, would certainly underline his status as the world's leading player at this moment in time, certainly the leading young talent. I think it would also be a massive step towards potentially winning what many people expect would be a first Ballon d'Or, first of many, given his talent. And I think as well, it could potentially be the first part of what might be a magnificent double this season. PSG going well so far on the club scene, unbeaten so far, looking good in the Champions League as well. We'll come up against a Bayern Munich side who will be depleted. So there is a possibility that this is maybe just the first act, if you will, in what could be a real glittering season for Mbappe, for club and country.
It's incredible to think he turns 24 years old on Tuesday, and he could be celebrating a second World Cup title. All right, JJ, give us a pick. Argentina versus France. Who do you have here?
My pre-tournament pick was Argentina, so I don't like to go against that, but I do think it will be tight. Wouldn't surprise me if either team sneak this by a goal, but I did pick Argentina before, so I'll say that Argentina win it 1-0.
All right, going against your countrymen. What about that third place game? You mentioned Morocco and Croatia, what it would mean to Morocco to win this, but in terms of making a pick, who do you like in that third place game?
I think it's difficult to see past Croatia. I think, unfortunately, we saw Morocco, had really come as far as they could. Certain players just sort of, physically just unable to give any more to the cause than they already have. So for me, I think that Croatia, just sheerly by the fact that they'll have most of their key players fit and available, will probably just shade that one.
That third place game coming up on Saturday at Khalifa International Stadium. Both Argentina and France set to clash on Sunday. One of them will add a third World Cup to their trophy case. CBS Sports soccer analyst Jonathan Johnson joining us to discuss the World Cup semifinal and now the final, which is set. France facing Argentina on Sunday. Thanks, JJ. And of course, for more from JJ and our crew of soccer analysts, be sure you're listening to House of Champions. They'll certainly be talking about this second semifinal. France beating Morocco 2-0, sending Morocco to the third place game, France to the Sunday final. You can download and follow the podcast wherever you get your podcast audio. You can also scan the QR code.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.